Hey, awesome people. Mr. C back with you with our fractions series. Make sure if you learn anything new, click the like button, click the subscribe, join us as we continue making math understandable and challenging. Today's video is going to be our practice problems video for creating equivalent fractions using multiplication. If you missed the teaching video, it is in the description below. Also in the description is other fourth grade fractions videos that we've done and a bunch of our third grade fractions playlist. It is in the description below as well. We did a lot of videos there. And our second grade fractions playlist is in the description below. Check those out if you haven't already. Today's video is going to focus on practice problems for creating equivalent fractions using multiplication. Let's get started. Let's get started with our very first problem today. Make sure you have a growth mindset before you tackle this one. Remember, a growth mindset means that you use your mistakes to help you get better. Find out where you're making your mistakes because mistakes help our brain grow. Don't give up just because you make a mistake. Stick with it. With that being said, we've got 1/4, and we are going to create an equivalent fraction for 1/4. A reminder, to do so, you can do two different things, and so far we've only talked about one thing. One strategy is to multiply, all right, and that's the only strategy we focused on. There is another strategy which is going to be divide, but we have not started this strategy yet, okay, so don't worry about the divide strategy just yet. Let's multiply this problem. Pause me if you haven't. Try this one on your own, create an equivalent fraction, and then join me as I create an equivalent fraction. I hope you tried this on your own. If not, follow along with me. On this first problem, I'm going to multiply by the number 2. Remember, you can multiply by any number that you choose. In this one, I'm going to go with 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the numerator, 1 times 2, and 1 times 2 gives me, y'all know what that is, 2, okay? Now, the next thing I have to do, if I multiply the numerator by 2, well, I've got to do the same thing to the denominator. I'm going to multiply the denominator by 2 because whatever you do to the top, do the same thing to the bottom. Whatever you do to the numerator, do the same thing to the denominator. Don't ever forget that, okay? 4 times 2 gives me 8. For this first problem, I am going to put a model up here to prove to not only myself, but to prove to you that I got this correct. Again, make sure you know how to draw the model. I'm going to do it to prove to myself and to you that I'm correct. The top one I will do as 1/4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Going to color in 1/4 of it. There we go. So here is 1/4, and then on the bottom one I will do 2/8. Make sure I get this set up right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to color in 2 of them. Notice these two are equivalent fractions. Let me get rid of that. These two are equivalent fractions. I proved it with a model. 1/4 and 2/8, they are equivalent. Again, in this problem, I multiplied by 2. You may have multiplied by 4 or by 5, maybe by even 3. Whichever you multiplied by, make sure you multiplied your numerator and your denominators by the same number. Okay? Got 2 more problems for you. All right, I went ahead and put both of these problems on the screen at the same time. The first problem I'm going to focus on is the top one, 7/10, and then we'll worry about 1/8. Feel free to pause me and get started on both of these on your own and then join me as I do them. So with the first fraction here, 7/10, what I'm going to do is multiply this fraction to create an equivalent fraction. And for this top one, I'm going to multiply it by 4. All right, I'm going to multiply this fraction by 4 to create an equivalent fraction. And what I'm going to do here is multiply the numerator 7 times 4. Let me think what that is. 7, 14, 21, 28. All right, so my numerator, my equivalent numerator would be 28. Now, before I can move on, think to yourself, what do you do next? What should Mr. C do next? Hopefully, you're pointing out, Mr. C, you need to multiply by the same number that you did to the numerator. Whatever I do to the numerator, I do to the denominator, and vice versa, okay? With that being said, I'm going to multiply the denominator, which is 10, by 4. What is 10 times 4? Let's think. 10, 20, 30, 40. And there's an equivalent fraction. We multiplied the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Make sure you did that. If you multiplied the numerator by 2 and you multiplied the denominator by 4, you did not create an equivalent fraction. You have to multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. You have to divide the top and the bottom number by the same number. Whatever you do to the top, you've got to do the same thing to the bottom. Whatever you do to the denominator, you've got to do the same thing to the numerator. Do not forget that. It's crazy important. All right, last problem down here. Okay, last problem. We've got the fraction 1/8, and we are going to create an equivalent fraction for it. Okay. This time, though, I'm going to start with the denominator. And I'm going to multiply the denominator by, 6. Kind of a big number. I don't think we've done that yet. So I'm going to multiply the denominator 8 times 6. And again, you could have chosen 3 or 2, 4, any of those. But let's think real quick. If I had chosen 1, if I had multiplied by 1, is that going to really do me anything? Not really, because 8 times 1 is 8. And that's just the same thing. All right, that's the same fraction. You're not really creating an equivalent fraction if it's the same thing. All right, so make sure you didn't choose 1. If you chose any number but 1, you should be okay. So I chose the number 6, so I'm going to do 8 times 6. Let's think. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. There we go. So I multiplied the denominator by 6. Am I going to multiply the numerator by 4? Am I going to multiply the numerator by 2? Am I going to divide the numerator? Am I just going to add the numerator? What are you going to do? Well, the reason I draw this in here and I write it where I can see it is because I already know. This is like a cheat sheet for Mr. C. This cheat sheet here lets me see what I already did. I multiplied the denominator by 6. Well, that's the same exact thing I'm going to do to the numerator, y'all. That's one of the reasons I write it down, is that way I can't forget what I did to the bottom or to the top. I can't forget what I did to the denominator because it's right in front of my face. Same thing here. All right, so what I'm going to do is multiply the numerator by the same number I multiplied the denominator. So I'm going to do 1 times 6, which gives us 6. There you go. There you have it. 3 different problems. We multiplied each of them by a different number. Remember, this strategy is a really simple and efficient strategy, but make sure you know how to use models, okay? Just like I showed you in the problem that we did at the very beginning, I drew in a model here just because I wanted to make sure you remember that's the case, all right? With that being said, I love this strategy. I love being able to create equivalent fractions. It's going to be super beneficial down the road. Practice some more on your own, create different ones, do all that kind of stuff. We still need to cover one other strategy that I'll bring up to you later on, but this is a really important skill, so make sure you practice it. All right. If you learned anything new at all, make sure you click the like and subscribe button. Join us as we continue making math understandable and challenging. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in. Mr. C, out.